Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Kathy Wade, and I am your worship associate for today's service. Heritage is a community that welcomes people of all faiths or no faiths, or those who identify as seekers, regardless of race or creed or age or gender, regardless of life experience or beliefs. And so whether you're here with us in the sanctuary or watching on Zoom, hello Zoomers, or you may view this service at a later date, we want you to feel welcome. While our senior minister, Reverend Bill Lyon, is away, we're happy to welcome Chaplain Leigh Waltz, who will explore with us how we shape our morality, not from dogma so much as from the shared human capacity to feel, to care, to act with compassion. Chaplain Leigh is a UU chaplain currently serving Sam Haven and related communities. And he is also a member of the UU Fellowship of Yellow Springs. So welcome, Chaplain Leigh. Before we begin, a few reminders. Please check out the reverse side of your order of service for a list of some of the many opportunities for engaging here at Heritage and beyond. And to learn more, you can go to our website at huuc.net for more information. And our board greeter today is Jamie Castle. There's Jamie in the front, waving to you. And you can see her if you would like more information about Heritage or even have a tour of our campus. And even though this announcement does appear on today's order of service, it bears repeating. And this is from our wonderful tech person, Lucy Rogers. She says, Heritage needs your help at the soundboard in the back. We are looking for volunteers to help with sound duties a few Sundays a year. Not a month, but a year. It's not difficult to learn, and no experience is necessary. We will teach you everything you need to know. If you do have past experience, all the better. Contact Lucy. You can see her after church, or her email is in the order of service. And Kay Inskeep is here with 2 short announcements, right, Kay?
Thank you, Kathy. She emphasized the word short, so I will try to keep that in mind. First of all, after church, I need some help moving a couple bookshelves and a cabinet that we just emptied out in. So if you could meet me in the middle office after church, it shouldn't take long. If I have like 3 or 4 people show up to help, it would be fantastic. Second announcement is next week, and you will see a reminder in tomorrow's announcements on web or in your email. There will be a hopefully very short meeting for the holiday bazaar after church next week, so we can, if you have any interest in crafting, helping with marketing, social media, baking, plants, anything, signs, let me know. Please come. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. And finally, I would ask you to silence your phone or anything that makes noise, as the phone especially can interfere with our internet. This morning, we have a call to worship, and it will be a call and response. So We should see that on the wall behind me. Is it up there? It's coming. One minute, 1 second. No. Okay. Okay. I will read it all myself then. It's not in the hymnal, no. It begins this way. Come, you seekers of clarity, and you lovers of wonder. Come, you who have found answers and you who have only better questions. Come into this circle of quietness and conversation, where truth is not a fortress, but a field, wide and open. The scriptures of many peoples remind us that contradiction is not confusion, that light and dark, belief and doubt, faith and reason can dwell together and teach one another. So we come not to solve the mystery, but to be softened by it. We come to breathe, to wonder, to be undone and remade again by awe. Let us enter this time of worship not with certainty, but with curiosity, not with proof, but with presence, that in the stillness between our words, we might glimpse something vast and gracious, something whole. Come, let us worship. And now I'll invite you all to stand as you're willing and able for the opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, and remain standing.
So this is a round. We'll sing it once together, once through, and then this will be group one, and you'll start the second and third times, and this group will come in one phrase later. And we'll do it 3 times total. Here we go. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again. Again, group one. Come. Thank you.
Standing for our covenant. By this covenant, we affirm that love is the spirit of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. You can be seated. Today, our Time for All Ages will be led by Charlotte Laughlin, who is our Music for Kids director. And Charlotte, I'm going to let you take it from here.
All right, check out my swinging cart, everyone. All right, I would like to invite any youngins or young at hearts up to the front. We're going to play some instruments today. I'll get the mic, I'm sorry. All right, anyone who is a youth, please come forward. Have a seat on the step for a minute. And then we'll pass out instruments to anyone who's interested. Don't worry. I just wanted to talk a little bit about making music. They'll join you in a little bit. You can come sit down. Who here makes music? Everybody. Everybody makes music, yeah. And one of the things I really like about making music is making music with other people, because it's a way of communicating without even having to say anything. You connect with another human on an emotional level, and you make something beautiful together. So, what I'd like to do today is make some music with everybody. We're going to have 4 different groups, and if we can get the lyrics up, we're going to sing a song that we sang a couple months ago, and it goes like this. Let me get a, oh, thanks, Sherry. Could you play me an A minor chord? Okay. Echo me, please. Listen to each other with your whole heart. You know what? Should I take a longer turn because you're kind of familiar with it? Maybe. I'm going to take a short turn. Listen to each other. Listen to each other. With your whole heart. With your whole heart. Bring the love there. Bring the love there. Know that you're a part of. Know that you're a part of. Everything around you. Everything around you. Even me and you. Even me and you. Good. Could make something new. Could make something new. If we work together. If we work together. Lovely. I'm going to take a longer turn now. Listen to each other with your whole heart. Bring the love there. Know that you're a part of. Do you think you can do that whole first half? Here we go. Listen to each other with your whole heart. Bring the love there. Know that everything around you, even me and you, could make something new. If we work together, everything around you, even me and you, could make something new. If we work together, that is going to be our A section. So we'll try all of that in just a second. Then we're going to have a B section, a C section, a D section, and an E section. And those will be played on instruments from the cart amongst everybody. So first things first, we need to divide into quadrants. So we're going to have you all be B. The back half will be C, D, E, and you guys are going to be in charge of each of these groups. Who wants to be in charge of Group B? Tell them what to do, Sage. All right. Who wants to be in charge of Group C? Thank you. Group D. And Group E. Thank you. Okay, so you'll find out your job in a minute. First things first, you're going to grab... It's okay. It'll be fun. I promise. All right, so you're going to grab an instrument, any instrument you want from the cart. They'll all sound good with what we're doing. And then, once you all have instruments, then we'll take the cart out and let them choose something too. So take a minute and grab an instrument from the cart. While they're choosing, can we sing this A section one more time? Thank you. Listen to each other with your whole heart. Bring the love there. of everything around you. Even me and you could make something new if we work together. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so why don't we have, since you're right here, Juliet, hold on. Do you want to be our flight attendant and go down the aisle and see who wants? So Juliet has called the C. Don't take it from her, but anyone else who would like to come get an instrument, please come to the middle aisle and grab yourself an instrument, go all the way down the aisle. Go all the way down, just walk it down. Use those wheels. There you go. All right, while we're passing out instruments, could you play the chord progression and we can practice? Go ahead and practice with your instrument. Come up with a pattern you like. Practice something on your instrument that you like the sound of. Make your choices. All right, Sage, your B, right? Come stand right over here, Sage. Okay, who's C? Simon, are you C? You're D, okay. Simon, follow me. Simon, come on over here. Simon, you're gonna stand here. Where's our C? Who's C? Oh, I think Juliet is C. Okay. Oh no! Well, you can choose any instrument you want. I'm sorry. All right. We're about ready? And stop. Yeah, nice work. Okay, we haven't even started the song. All right, so, sorry. Okay, so here's how this is gonna work. We're gonna have everyone sing the A section. Then we're gonna hear our B group, led by Sage, thank you. Then we're all gonna sing the A section. Then we'll hear our C group, led by Juliet. Would you please go back to that corner, that group? Then we'll all sing A. I'm really putting her to work. I'm sorry, Juliet, sorry. Then we're gonna hear the C group, and then A, and then the D group, and then A, and then we'll hear everybody. The F stands for full ensemble, okay? So I think we are ready. You're welcome to stand if you want. You could sit, it's up to you. All right. Let's do one chord progression and then we'll start. Is that okay? Ready, here we go, listen to each other with your whole heart, bring the love there, know that you're a part of everything around you, even me and you could make some. B. Nice, this is the B group. Keep going. Listen to each other with your whole heart. Bring the love there. Know that you're a part of everything around you. Even me and you could make something new. All right, C group. Keep it going. Everybody listen to each other with your whole heart. Bring the love there. Know that you're a part of everything around you. Even me and you could make something new. D. Keep going. Good. Thank you for. A section, listen to each other. Bring the love there. Know that you're a part of everything around you, even me and you. E, here we go. Oh. Great. Here we go, sing, listen to each other with your whole heart. Bring the love there. Know that you're a part of everything around you. Even me and you could make something new. Everybody play. All right, keep playing while you sing one more time. Here we go. Listen to each other. Know that you're a part of everything around you. Even me and you could make something new if we work together. All right. Nicely done, everyone. All right, we're going to go on to RE, if you want to bring your instruments with you. And I will slowly walk down the aisle if you would like to pass your instruments down to the middle. Thank you so much for playing today. Oh, that glockenspiel sounded wonderful. Thank you. Look.
So thank you, Charlotte, and the crew. And maybe we can all just kind of take a deep breath and let it out. Be thankful for music and how it brings us together. And we move from the music and all ages to candles of community, which we know is a special ritual here at Heritage, where we're invited each week to share the joys and sorrows and concerns that each one of us might have. And this sharing really deepens our connection to one another and helps us carry one another's burdens. It means a lot to know that our joys and sorrows are held in a spirit of love. One more candle for all those joys and sorrows in our hearts that go unspoken this morning. Thank you. I think we've got a full fire going there. I'd like to share, as part of our meditation and prayer, an excerpt from a poem by Mary Oliver, who's one of our favorites, I think, one of my favorites. It's called Some Questions You Might Ask. And this one is the excerpt about the soul. Is the soul solid, like iron? Or is it tender and breakable, like the wings of a moth in the beak of an owl? Who has the soul and who doesn't? I keep looking around me. The face of the moose is as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries leaves into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does the soul have a shape? Like an iceberg? Or like the eye of a hummingbird? Why should I have a soul and not the anteater who loves her children? Why should I have a soul and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting alone in the moonlight? That's Mary Oliver. Some questions you might ask. And now if you'll join in singing Where Do We Come From? You can rise as you're willing and able. And I think, yes, the words are up there. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Okay. Okay, let's do that. We can do that. Need to check my order of service. Make sure we're on the same. Okay, we're going to welcome Chaplain Leigh, who's going to reflect with us on scratching the veneer of unbelief. And then we'll probably sing that song again. Is that okay, Sherry? Chaplain?
I was the one who raised the alarm during the hymn because I'd call it a sermon because I think a reflection might even be shorter. But and I was talking to Bob near the coffee this morning. We usually go 1 hour for worship, and one of the reasons I really enjoy being a chaplain is that time doesn't matter. If you want to go long, you can go long. If you need to go short, you can go short. And I wanted to burn an egg timer's worth of time to say that it's really great to see everybody here again. Last time I was here, I think it was 3 years ago, and I took pictures of your wonderful altar, and I'm very pleased. It's always an honor and a privilege. I wanted to thank Reverend Lyon for inviting me to be here. It's an honor and a privilege. And I think if we share what we're learning, and if I share living my truth, we can live our truths better, and we can build a better community and a better world. And a lot of times that takes a whole lot of courage. I'm glad to see theism up there. I come from a lay-led fellowship, so I try to tread lightly. This is going to be a particularly theistic talk, but I'd like to have a moment of silence, and after the moment of silence, I hope you'll join me in prayer. Gracious and loving God, open our hearts and minds in worship together today, and let our time serve your will. Amen. Two peasants stopped arguing long enough to get to the rabbi's house to settle things, and he let them in. He listened carefully to the first man, and he rubbed his beard, and then he said, "You're right." But then the other man spoke up, telling his side of the argument. And again, the rabbi rubbed his beard and he said, "You're right." From the other room, his wife cried out, "Reuben, they can't both be right." And the rabbi said, "You're right." And that's funny, but it also puts us in a predicament that happens in the realm of growing, especially spiritual growing, because sometimes we cannot get by with ordinary logic. Sometimes intuition says yes to things that are supposed to be impossible. Once upon a time, a teacher spoke about another famous teacher, and he said, after his talk, a man came and asked, "Does God exist?" And he answered, "Yes." Moments later, another man came and asked him, "Does God exist?" And the teacher said, "No." His students had heard both conversations. One of them became troubled and asked, "Master, the question is the same, but you answered so differently, so contradictorily, that we have become puzzled and confused." The teacher said, "I was not answering you. Somebody asked a question, and the answer was given to him, not to you. The questioners were different. The time was different. The situation was different. How could the question be the same?" Once upon another time, another master asked his devotees, "Where is God?" And they dutifully answered, "Teacher, the whole world is filled with her glory." I'm cheating the pronouns, misquoting. He replied, "No, God is only where you let her in." Many traditions say if one focuses the mind for 3 days straight, the ego, or the I thought, collapses. Samadhi is established. Mechanical sleep is shattered. That's 3 different traditions. Here's a 4th. The Chippewa, those are Native American tribes up by the Superior, Wisconsin area, used to was. The Chippewa go to a high place with a view of the big lake, and they fast and stare at the horizon, and after 2 to 4 days, the person gets a bawajigan, and that's a dream or a vision. And it typically brings a symbol or a song or a teaching that becomes the person's manidawin, and you can translate that as sacred gift, state of being in relation to the spirit, mystic empowerment, or simply medicine. A person who has a vision becomes an adult. They could say, I crossed the Sunlight Bridge with Badger, and mean it as seriously as a no-vision person might say, I swam across the river. Both are real. An ancient text from India describes a ritual of exorcism. First, the practitioner, the healer, must fast and abstain from sex for a time, and then prepare a house by closing all the doors and all the windows, and then wait inside as a hole is made in the roof. The possessed person can then be lowered down into the room and be laid on top of dice that the healer has thrown on the table. He says an incantation, and when the person is healed, once the evil spirit has gone out through the hole in the roof, the hole is covered back over so the evil spirit cannot return. In the 1920s, a Jewish lady in Germany who happened to be a theologian and a Bible scholar with an Indologist friend learned about the ritual, and another one very like it from the Griya Sutras in the Yajurveda. She wrote an article on how similar they are to the healing of the paralytic in the Gospels of Mark and Luke. Matthew has the same healing, but leaves out the hole in the roof part. Her article got published in German in the Journal of New Testament Studies, but was mostly ignored. She died in the Holocaust. When the director of the movie RoboCop was allowed to participate in the Jesus Seminar, okay, time out. For those who haven't heard of it, the Jesus Seminar was the first collective effort to use public democratic and color-coded methods to form scholarly consensus on the sayings and the acts of Jesus for lay understanding. The director wrote a humanist book called Jesus of Nazareth, and in that book he mentions the ritual article by the lady theologian. And if it weren't for an evangelical chaplain at Kettering Hospital complaining and harumphing about the Jesus Seminar, inviting some unqualified movie director, Paul Verhoeven, to participate, I would never have heard about the Griya Sutras. But when I did, it was choirs of angels. A wonderful affirmation for me. Because I've come to agree with people saying Jesus went to India during the lost years. And I know that's an earthquake for most evangelicals, because this comparison of rituals linking two ancient cultures requires a reappraisal of the greatest story ever told, or the greatest story ever told just got greater and more inclusive. The implications are huge. A highly formal ritual from the Yajurveda, predating Jesus by at least 300 years, sits in 2 of the 4 Gospels and was redacted from the 3rd. The rabbi just said, "You're right. You're right. And you're right." Stories of these 2 things can't fit together, but hey, they do and they must, are examples of the need for paraconsistent logic. I've learned this very recently. That's the encounter with the failure of classical binary logic. Those stories dismantle binary logic to awaken moral and spiritual spaciousness. They very often have to do with a breakthrough or potential breakthrough. The sudden juxtaposition demands a realignment. If someone is there to help, my mind and my heart might get a tune-up. After one of his lectures, a woman approached Emerson. This is back in the 1860s and 70s. And she asked him in a challenging sort of way, "Was not Jesus sinless?" Emerson replied, "Knowledge of good and evil through experience is an essential condition of intelligence, and that wisdom can hardly be denied Jesus." Threshold moments are those flashes when the world no longer fits its old categories, when what we thought opposed each other suddenly stand side by side. Faith and doubt, love and grief and purity and experience. They are the mind's encounter with paradox, the point where logic reaches its limit and awareness must widen. The Best of Enemies is a great movie for this message. Check it out. Such moments unmask us. They dissolve our certainty about who we are and how reality works. They expand consciousness from either or to both and, forcing humility upon the intellect. In the silence that follows the collapse of my little explanations, something larger can speak. These are conditions in which real change and new insights are born. Yet most people get scared and run away, either literally or figuratively. The mind is built to protect continuity, and contradiction feels like death. To stay with a paradox is to risk losing control, or losing identity, or losing belonging. Western habits call it inconsistency or error, and religious traditions call it heresy. Modern habits call it inefficiency. All teach us to fix the tension, not to dwell on it. One of my teachers said to me, "A better way to hurry up is to slow down." If we stay in it, contradiction ripens into understanding. Holding both sides without forcing resolution reveals a larger harmony that includes them. The self softens, compassion deepens, wonder replaces certainty. The person who can inhabit paradox without resentment or fear discovers that truth is not fragile, but alive. Threshold moments are the laboratories of the soul. They strip, unsettle, and remake us. Avoiding them keeps us comfortable but untransformed. Enduring them opens the heart to mystery that logic cannot contain. In Transylvania, there are gates that are called Seike gates that stand as wooden paradoxes. Some of the cool ones have birdhouses on top of them from Martin's. They rise in fields unattached to any fence or any wall, but they bear inscriptions like, "If you have a good heart and name, you may come through this gate. If you are deceitful, walk back and forth in front of it." To the practical mind, such a gate seems foolish, a door to nowhere. But the foolishness is its wisdom. Thresholds of the sacred have often spoken this way, half joke, half oracle. Their words sound silly wise, designed not to inform, but to disarm and even charm. The contradiction itself becomes a kind of password, turning back the literal-minded while awakening wonder in those who can smile and step through. Seike gates share that lineage. Its humor guards holiness. Its absurdity protects the real. Its power lies in its contradiction. It is a gate and not a gate. It opens onto ordinary ground and yet declares that whoever passes through crosses into moral and spiritual territory. 8,000 miles to the east, the Shinto Tori do the same thing, just without the clutter of words. The words cannot literally keep out the deceitful, but they awaken self-reflection in the one who reads them. The boundary they mark is inward. A friend of mine said there are 7 directions: north, south, east, west, up, down, and inward. All sacred rituals work this way. Bread that is and is not body. I love the carving around your altar. A prayer that means and exceeds meaning. A symbol that opens and does not open. When reason falters, imagination and reverence come alive. Poets get it. Poets get it. I'm 65. I consider myself a Talking Heads fan, and David Byrne made an album called Stop Making Sense. Seike gates remind us wisdom often hides in what first seems absurd, that a gate to nowhere may in fact be the threshold where the visible meets the invisible. Now, the paradoxical Jesus. Jesus speaks and lives in a logic that refuses either-or boundaries. His words often contradict themselves, yet their contradiction awakens rather than confuses. In him, truth is not a single beam of reason, but a radiant crossing of opposites. He says, those who lose their life for my sake will find it. In the very act of surrender, life is preserved. He teaches that the kingdom of God is both already among you and still to come, present and future entwined. He blesses the meek as inheritors of the earth and tells the powerful that greatness is found in servanthood. He heals the blind and then declares, those who will see will become blind. Overturning the logic of perception, like the gates and like the other considerations. I consider him the most famous performance artist. His piece says, I'm not my body and neither are you. You can be dead and alive. The Gospel of Thomas continues the same rhythm. The kingdom is inside you and outside you. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift the stone, and I am there. Presence is absence. Invisible is visible. The contradictions are not flaws, but thresholds where mind breaks and spirit begins. Jesus does not tidy up paradoxes. He inhabits them. The peace that lives at the center of opposites, a truth large enough to include contradiction. And that's about half. We can sing the song if you like.
You can whistle the whole time. It'll be a little background music to sharing our abundance.
Well, brace yourself for part 2. 23 minutes. We'll survive.
Well, good morning. I'm Erin Walzewski, and I'm here to talk about sharing our abundance as a little intermission in our reflection. Many of you know that we have a tradition here at church when we pass the offering plate, not to keep the money here at the church, but to give it away, 100% of what we collect in that offering plate, to a nonprofit that connects with either our message of the day or a timely event. And today our recipient is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I should note that we've had multiple people at our church, both current members and former members, ask if this could be one of our recipients in the month of October. And one of the things that I think all of us can recognize is how many people suicide touches. In the United States alone, between 42 and 49,000 people die every year from suicide. So an organization like this is really helpful, not just for here in Cincinnati, but for across the country and across the world, for people who are touched in all sorts of different ways by the tragedy of suicide. And this organization applies itself in 3 different ways: in research, in awareness, and in support. So on the research side, there is need for medical studies about identifying symptoms, about treatment for mental wellness, and for things that can help both medical professionals and everyday people recognize the signs and symptoms of suicide and do something about it. For awareness, there was a walk earlier this month on October 5th. 1,500 people in Cincinnati alone walked nearly 3 miles around Sawyer Point to help with this awareness. And then the support is linked to that. There are 2 things in particular about the walk that I thought were notable. One is that they have a memory wall, so people can bring pictures, pin names or notes or letters to people who have died from suicide or people who have been affected by suicide, so that those people's lives are remembered. And the second is something called support beads. So honor beads. As part of that walk, at the beginning, people can pick up colored beads in about a dozen different colors, and the colors signify different types of connections to suicide. And then through the activities of the walk and through some special shout outs to people who have lost a loved one, a child, a parent, a family member, a relative, you can find other people who have that same connection, and through doing that, find people here in Cincinnati who have the same connection that you do to suicide. So those 3 things, research, awareness, and support, are 3 of the specific ways that this organization, a national organization, and its chapter here in Cincinnati, are touching all of those lives for people who have lost a loved one or almost lost a loved one to suicide. If you are on on Zoom, the link will be in the chat, and here in the sanctuary, we will pass the plates to support the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Thank you for your generosity. Already in October, they've raised over $150,000. They have just a few $1,000s left to get to their goal, and I know this will help.
Even before I talked this morning, Kathy said, jokes are serious. It's true. Jokes are funny and jokes are serious. And for for the philosophers present, I wanted to say paradox is not the same thing as paraconsistent encounters, because I had to look this up. I was like going, okay, I keep using them as the same thing. But a paradox can collapse into nonsense. And a paraconsistent encounter can be lived through without choosing one side over the other. In chaplaincy, we see paradoxes that are God's language. Belief and faith are probably not the same thing. My heart and kindness matter way more than my beliefs or my mind. The mind is vital to my spirituality, and it is the obstacle to my spirituality. Paraconsistent encounters, moments when two seemingly contradictory truths both feel valid and even necessary and are allowed to stand, act like controlled demolitions in the mind. They expose the rigid architecture of either-or thinking that keeps the ego defended and the heart narrow. Among the Jains in South India, where those Griya Sutras came from, they have 7 possibilities. We generally operate with like a thing exists or it does not exist. Beyond that, we're kind of like out of our comfort zone. Their operating system has 7 choices, and none of them assert certitude. I get lost after the 3rd one, but they go, a thing may be, a thing may not be, a thing may or may not be, but is inexpressible. And then they got 4 more. I put a comic strip. There's a syndicated comic named Ted Rall, but he did a comic, and I put a stack of 40 of them cut out by the UU magazines in the foyer area, because it has to do with the talk. When a person sincerely meets such a paradox, lose your life to find it, and it could also be a paraconsistent event. And form is emptiness, and love your enemy. The old logic that sustains separateness short circuits. The ego's reflex is to move back, recoil, to demand resolution, but when the mind does not run away, a different capacity awakens. Tolerance for ambiguity, patience with not knowing, and finally, compassion for all the parts of reality that don't neatly fit together. The universe is a messy place that is awesome perfection. This is why sages in every lineage use paradox, koan, paraconsistency as medicine. The shock of contradiction is not meant to confuse, it's meant to widen the vessel of consciousness. It cracks the shell of certainty so that a more integral awareness can shine through, one that can hold opposites without collapsing into relativism or denial. That new spaciousness is the arrival of humility and tenderness, which form the soil of virtue. Once we understand truth can wear opposite faces, it becomes much harder to condemn or judge or cling. The mind softens, the heart opens, and we become capable of what virtue really is, acting from wholeness, connectedness rather than fear. When my world is narrow, if I live inside my little defended fort of what I really know, paraconsistent moments feel like threats. They're foreign intrusions into my map of reality. And because the ego's first job is to preserve coherence, it responds by running away through denial, ridicule, or just numb confusion. That reflex is not moral weakness, it's preconscious self-defense. That's how I remind myself I can be nice to this person. But from a wider consciousness, those same contradictions are seen for what they are. Doorways. Paradoxes expose the limits of our maps and demand a larger truth. Yet most of us cannot pass through the doorway alone. We need someone or something to rescue us in that moment. The rescuer may be a work of art, a poem, a teacher, a friend, a moment of grace. Something to hold the tension long enough for us to discern the light within that moment. And that's one of the reasons retributive justice accomplishes the least, but that's for another sermon. Paradox itself is the medicine, but relationship is often the container that makes it bearable. Without that container, the mind recoils and the lesson is lost. With the container, the moment becomes the birth of compassion because we learn that truth is bigger than comfort and that all others are fighting the same narrowing of sight we once mistook for certainty or safety. This is the moment when Saul becomes Paul. This is when the guru whispers your new name in your ear. I call this the Wilburian realization. The great world religions, each radiant in its origin, have largely failed to integrate the evolution of human consciousness itself. They have preserved techniques for waking up, the mystical apprehension of unity, but they've ignored the necessity of growing up, the developmental unfolding of human awareness through stages of moral, emotional, and cognitive complexity. This is Ken Wilber is the guy. This is the Wilburian discovery that the highest states of consciousness, if filtered through an immature state of development, will continue to reproduce the same ethnocentric blindness that has plagued history. Enlightenment without evolution becomes captivity in ignorance. That's one of the reasons I've read an article written by a rabbi about the failure of Abrahamic religions. To awaken today means to include the full arc of development, from archaic survival to integral awareness as part of spiritual practice itself. The contemplative path must marry the developmental sciences not as an act of secular compromise, but as the recognition that spirit has been evolving all along, pressing toward greater inclusivity, empathy, and compassion. The next leap of faith is not to another religion, but to one that includes all of them. An integral spirituality that unites waking up with growing up for the healing of both self and civilization. I don't put it in here, but I'm a big fan of Simon Davies' evolutionary tree of world religions. And when I started clinical pastoral education, the instructor said, "Tell me about your theology." And I said, "Well, it's kind of a big tree theology." And he said, "I've never heard of it." And I was like, "I think I kind of made it up." But I had to explain to him that in the same couple weeks in seminary, I saw a diagram that was shaped like a tree, and it was the history of Quakerism. And then I saw another diagram that was shaped like a tree, and it was the history of Christianity. And then I saw Simon Davies' evolutionary tree of world religions, and I was like, I think that's really about, like, God. 150,000 years ago, the people staring at the fire going, "I like this," they started thinking centered, sacred thoughts that were really about the same stuff, I think. The alarm, the ask. Our crisis is not technological or political, but developmental. The world is run by adults who remain children in consciousness, tribal, reactive, and driven by mythic certainties. We have built nuclear weapons with Stone Age egos. The old religions without integration cannot save us. The new secularism without spirit cannot inspire us. Only a synthesis that joins inner and outer evolution, virtue and vision, can limit the suffering that now multiplies across generations. The call is urgent to reintroduce virtue not as moralism, but as technology of the soul, a means of aligning the self with the deeper currents of wholeness. Every act of honesty, compassion, and discipline is evolutionary labor, shaping the consciousness our descendants will inherit. If we fail to mature collectively, awakening will remain private, subjective, fragmented, and useless against the scale of our shared peril. But if we grow up together, personally, communally, spiritually, we might yet transform history into a sacrament of maturity where the world itself becomes the temple of our awakened care. Virtue limits suffering because it harmonizes the interior and exterior dimensions of our being. When we live with integrity, honesty, compassion, humility, patience, our inner world, our intentions and our emotions align with our outer world, our actions and our consequences. That alignment reduces the inner conflict that creates most psychological pain and the outer harm that perpetuates collective suffering. In developmental terms, virtue reflects growth from the egocentric me, past the ethnocentric us, to the world-centric all of us awareness. Each expansion of care lessens the boundaries through which suffering is experienced as alien or hostile. As compassion and fairness mature, they transform the very structures of consciousness that generate separation, fear, and aggression. Virtue limits suffering because it stills the causes of suffering. When greed, hatred, and delusion do not rule my mind, pain finds no soil to grow in. Virtue is not imposed morality, but mental hygiene. The steady habit of non-harming. It starts if I avoid disturbing my mind and then yours. It prevents the agitation, remorse, and confusion that follow unwholesome action. Countless sages have said it this way: a person who lives with virtue sleeps peacefully, wakes with ease, and dies unafraid. Summation. Hooray! When we bump into situations that seem contradictory, we scratch the surface of unbelief. We're really loosening the crust around our hearts. It's like lifting a veil or allowing a small controlled demolition within our worldview. Something breaks open, and that breaking is where light begins to enter. When we dare to question and even let go of what we think we know, virtue begins to grow. Why? Because humility is born, because honesty is born, and those begin virtue. Those are the foundations of virtue. The more we open, the more truth can shine, not as argument, but as a presence. Truth wants to move through us, not be defended by us. And that movement, that flow, draws us toward the experience of God. And here's the great paradox. To truly experience God is to move beyond both belief and unbelief. For once something is known directly, deeply, unmistakably, it no longer needs to be believed. In fact, categorically, it comes outside the circle called belief. One comes into being. The scaffolding falls away, and only the living reality remains. Amen.
Thank you, Leigh. You've given us so much to ponder, especially in these times when we are looking at us versus them, and right and wrong, and what is truth. We will ponder this for a long time. Thank you so much. So we will have a closing hymn. It will be number 318, and some closing words from Chaplain Leigh, and then our regular rituals of extinguishing the candle and so on. So please rise and join in number 318. We would be one.
Lord, we thank you for our togetherness today and the opportunity to open our hearts and our mind to you in worship. Amen. And there is a charge that we carry our open minds and open hearts into our community. That is the mission. God bless us.